On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with the new creative director of PromoCorner, Kelsey Cunningham, and how she is the knot in the bow tie. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is Kelsey Cunningham. She's a creative director at PromoCorner. So excited. I know that she's not as excited, but I'm super excited to have her on the show. Kelsey, thanks for doing it.
Thank you for having me, Kirby.
Oh, you bet, you bet. I know that you were a little pushing back on this, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, this isn't my stage, but I'm giving it a go for you.
Very much appreciate. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because you jumped into a new role at PromoCorner, and I think that's interesting. You're creative director there. So tell us about that new role and what you're going to be working on.
So it's not just a new role for me, it's a new role for the industry. And, the best way I can explain it is, with any creative process, there's a great deal of communication and collaboration involved, from idea to development to the final work. So essentially, my role is to facilitate and streamline that process. Mm-hmm. So I take the initial opportunity and collaborate with our internal creative team, and then ultimately present that work back to our clients. Okay. It's kind of funny. I keep hearing Bill give this analogy of a bow tie, and I'm pretty sure he did it unscripted. Yeah. So I'll just put it this way. I think it's a great visual of just a snapshot of what I'm doing. So picture the bow tie, and I'm the knot. And then on one side is our internal creative team. Yeah. And then on the other is our external clients. So I'm kind of the liaison between the two. Yeah.
Well, and again, I think it's like, for me, I think in that role, it's like using both sides of the brain. Right?
Yes.
Absolutely. You got to be able to
put it.
You got to speak on logistics, but you also have to speak on the creativity side. And so yes. I think sometimes in that, I fill that role here. And so I totally understand where you're coming from, because it's like, yeah, it can be an awesome video, but if the event goes by and it's not done, it doesn't matter. So
right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of semantics involved, and it's nice to have somebody to kind of keep it all in line there.
Yeah, that's cool. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet. So I know that you've had experience sort of on both the supplier side and the distributor side of the business. How do you think that helps you in this role?
There are countless ways that this experience helps me in my new role. But the one that truly I feel is vital is having a deep understanding of the pain points and goals and desires of both the supplier and distributor. And while the end result is the same for both, with to drive and grow business, the mindset in doing so and approach is different. Right. So having that knowledge gives me a well-rounded scope of how we target and communicate the right messages to the right audience.
Yeah, because again, you're trying to read, if you're creating creative for distributors, the audience is totally different, right? Than a supplier.
It really is. And the end game is the same, but getting there is different. So you have to craft your message to appease all of that. And having that experience, and I've truly been born and raised in the industry, it gives me great insight and an approach to how we go about doing what we do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So for the most part right now, and I know I'm going off script, so I apologize, but I'm curious about it. Like, are you at this point mostly working with suppliers, or is it a mix?
Right now it's mostly suppliers. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to eventually have that be a bit more of a broad scope between the two. Right. But right now it's mainly suppliers.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I appreciate you letting me vamp a little bit. That's
interesting. No, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So as a creative director, because we've talked about it, like both sides of the brain, you have to handle the logistics, but you also have to be looking for sources of inspiration and creativity. Where do you go for inspiration and creativity?
A lot of my focus is on retail-inspired companies and ads, those kind of things. So, I'm the audience too. So what catches my eye? What makes me excited? What makes me want to go get that product? What makes me want to do said task? So some of those, I really gravitate towards comedy. Nice. But also what's like clean, like Warby Parker is a great example of what's clean and using lifestyle as as their way of approaching their ads. IKEA does a lot of funny and lots of personality in their ads.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Mint Dentistry. We have them here, and somehow they make going to the dentist look fun and sexy, exciting. I don't know how, but they achieve it. I know, right?
That's impressive.
But like Dawn, Procter and Gamble, those ones that get like kind of tug at your heartstrings. So there's a real cadence to the scope of what I like, but it kind of goes through the whole gamut, right? So it just depends on, again, who we're trying to target.
No, that makes sense. And again, I always think it's like, generally speaking, it's funny. I literally had this conversation at lunch today. I'm like, so many times we look at things through the eyes of us as salespeople or marketers, but then when we flip it around and go, well, as a customer, this is what I want. And so by looking at it through the customer's eyes, I think it really does provide value.
It does. We live in like this show and don't tell world. What we want to do is show those stories in what we do.
Right.
So the show and tell, bring that to life. And kind of stick by what people's story actually is. Sometimes you don't get that in ads, and sometimes it's difficult to achieve that. But simplicity, I think, actually does a wonderful job of that. So trying to drive a little bit of that.
That's cool. Okay, cool. Well, you have done it. You've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me one question. Do you have one for me?
I do. I actually have 2, and the first one's kind of cheeky, but you've known Bill a long time.
I have.
So do you have any insider tips I need for working for him? Good, bad, ugly, indifferent?
Ooh, this is good. I didn't know these are coming. So I think that I have found that Bill loves it when you tell him how smart he is. Just kidding,
Okay.
Bill. Just kidding. I think that that Bill is one of those guys who is driven by consistency. He and I think that's something he and I have in common.
Absolutely.
So if you can marry, the creative side with the deadline side, I think you're going to do fine with Mr. Petrie.
That's great advice. Thank you. Noted.
Okay, cool. And you said you had 2 questions?
I do. So, creativity is subjective. So, my question is, what do you think is the most creative work going on in our industry right now?
That is a good one. Yeah, I'm going to give you a lazy answer, and I apologize, but it's the thing. What I try to do is just pop it, whatever pops into my head. And I think for the last year or so, the most creative stuff I've seen and the stuff that makes me go, ooh, how can I implement this is Snugs. I think Jeff Anderton and Cody Belknap and Brittany David and those guys. To be honest with you, not every piece of content that they do resonates with me, but that's how creativity works. Because when they hit it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so that's my first answer. I think there's several other suppliers that do a really good job here and distributors that do, but the one that pops immediately into my head is Snugs.
Okay, excellent.
Cool. All right.
Good answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hey, Kelsey, you've done it. I appreciate it. We'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
I'd love to. Thank you, Kirby.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.